Okay, people, so I decided to go all the way back. Yes, that's right, people. 28 days later. This was oh gosh, I think it's the fourth film from Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland. The film is produced by Andrew McDonald, with line production from Robert Howe. I feel there was more people producing than that, but okay, that's all we have. John Murphy took care of the music. Anthony Dodd Mantle is on cinematography, with Chris Gill editing the piece. All right, Gail Stevens took care of casting. Mark Tidlesley is production design. Art direction, we have David Bryan, Mark Digby, Rod Gorwood, Patrick Rolfe, and Dennis Schmegg. Fanny Taylor is set decoration. Rachel Fleming is costume design. All right, so hair and makeup, we have Nuala Conway, Lisa Crawley, Polly Onshaw, Andy Garner, Adrian Jetley, Richard Glass, Barry Gower, Shean Grigg, Alan Headcock, Kate Hill, Kerry Hornbury, Deborah Jarvis, Sally J, Melissa Lacastine, Chris Lyon, Ian Morse, Anthony Parker, Susan Parkinson, Justin Pictoli, John Schoenrud, Robin Schoenrud, and Tristan Schoenrud, Gemma Scott Knoxgore, D. Sherwood Wallace, Mayo Suzuki, Cliff Wallace, and Norma Webb. Okay, so that takes us to our cast, right? Well, let's just say at the beginning, right, our activists are played by Bindu Destopani, Alex Palmer, and Jacka Hittonen. The scientist was played by David Schneider. We have Jim, who is played by Cillian Murphy. Selena, played by Naomie Harris. Mark, played by Noah Huntley. There is Frank, played by Brendan Gleeson. His daughter Hannah, played by Megan Burns. Right, there is Private Clifton, played by Luke Mabley. Sergeant Farrell, played by Stuart McGuire. Corporal Mitchell, played by Ricky Harnett. Private Jones, played by Leo Bill. Private Bell, played by Junior Lanian. Private Bedford, played by Ray Pamafaki. Private Davis, played by Sanjay Rambarath. Private Mauler, played by Marvin Campbell. And Major Henry West, played by Christopher Eccleston. And who else do we have? I think it's then all our infected people after that, really. Jim's dad is played by Christopher Dunn. His mum played by Emma Hitching. Mr. Bridges, played by Alexander Delmere. Mr. Bridges' daughter, played by Kim McGarrity. The infected priest at the start, played by Toby Sedgwick. That's basically it, really. So the gist of the film is this. Where are we? We're here. A group of animal rights activists break into a lab and release monkeys from their cages to rescue them, despite warnings from a scientist that the monkeys are contagious. As a result of the animal rights activists' actions, a virus that the monkeys contained spreads rapidly across Great Britain and infects numerous people. Jim, who fell into a coma following a bicycle accident shortly before the virus was released, emerges from his coma and finds that London is deserted. He realizes that he is not alone, as within the city there are those that have been infected and those that have not. Jim manages to find more survivors and they head out to Manchester, where a group of British military personnel offer protection of any survivors from the infected. However, Jim and his colleagues have no idea what they're in for. Dum, dum, dum. That is the film, people. And, yeah. I haven't seen this film in ages. But it was one of those films that I thought was great when I was younger. Right? When I first saw this, it was just like, this is so different. Right? Because we had loads of zombie films. And they were just... I mean, it's like... Films get mad predictable, right? And I find that was the thing with a zombie film. But this one... Oh, the zombies were moving. This was the first fast zombie. Right? But I think the biggest thing about this film was the fact it wasn't necessarily about the zombies. It's really about the human condition. You know what I mean? Which makes it super intriguing. And we have humans acting in a way where you're like, of course they would do that. Right? Of course. Now, Danny Boyle... had mad success, right? Shot to fame with Shallow Grave. Then he did A Life Less Ordinary, which was great. We had Train Spotting, which I didn't like, alright? Everyone loved it though, right? So we had those films, and it's like, what will he do next? And then he dropped 28 Days Later. I do believe that is the chronology, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I believe that's how it all went. But yeah, it was just something different. But I hadn't seen it in forever. And because 28 years later is coming, I was like, yo, I should go back, right? I should go back. They might reference some shit. You know what I mean? Who knows? And watch it. There was so much that I'd forgotten because I always thought it was great, like the army base situation, because that made so much sense to me. Of course, people would be like that, you know what I mean? But I forgot how the film started, right? I forgot there was these activists. In my head, we start with Jim in the hospital, you know? That's how it started in my head. And not even how we find Jim in the hospital, right? I had him just walking through the, kind of like you have him getting out of bed and then walking down the corridors in his gown. That's what happened in my head. That is not what happens in the film. Like, we have the activists firstly, which makes sense. You know what I mean? Stupid fucking activists, right? Like, even once you can see that these monkeys are fucked up. And even being warned that they're infected with shit, because of course, they're there for experimentation. So of course they might have something. So, you know what I mean? Obviously, you want to shine the light on torture and mistreatment. Take pictures. Tell the authorities. Do not release them You know what I mean? So it makes perfect sense how this all goes down, right? If it's not this, it's what happened in Wuhan, right? It is something like that that would always lead to this kind of thing. But then when we get to the hospital, right, I do not remember Jim being buck naked in bed. Because, like if you're in hospital, you're going to have a gown on, right? Or they're going to put you in pajamas or something. Like, it was an odd choice to have him, like, butt naked like that. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, fair is fair. There's plenty of times that a woman will be in a film like that. So, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, that's so... But it's just... doesn't quite make sense for the whole hospital experience. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, just waking up in that hospital and walking around is fucking eerie as a motherfucker, right? That is eerie. And, Robert Kirkman used that within the first scenes of The Walking Dead, you know? And also, his zombies move fast, right? So he was mad influenced by this. But it's just... oh man, it's still very impactful today, watching this film. It's still... like, the human component of the film works extremely well. It really does. Right? The performances are fantastic. You know? Like, just the dynamic between everyone. Like, Mark and Selena. How you would act in a situation where, like, you think the world might be ending. Just all of that is great, right? Frank and Hannah, that dynamic. Getting, like, father and just trying to get his kid, And it's just some of the small things, right? When Hannah is driving the cab, right? And she shows off and speeds and does the big stop. And then she's got a big grin on her face, right? Because even if everything's going to shit, kids are fucking kids. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, oh, I get a chance to drive. Look at me. Obviously, you're doing it. So it was just that little detail that you're just like, oh man, this is so fucking good. This is so good. You know what I mean? Like, that was great. Like, Selena. Because, yeah, there's going to be people that are just like, look, I've got to be practical about what this is. How this is all going to go down, right? Just the thought of the tablets, right? Because if you think you can't stop something, whatever help you could give it, you would. So that all of that worked really well. And this, as I said, the base, I thought the army base, because it's horrible. It's fucking grim as a motherfucker, right? It is so horrible. But when you're like, yeah, that's what people would do, though. That's what they would do. They're not going to care about the age. And it's just like, ooh, so grim. So grim. But it does capture the human condition. Because everyone wants to think, oh, I'd help everyone. Oh, I would do. You have people spurting off of that nonsense. But when it all goes to shit, you see people running off, people hiding, people becoming part of the mob. You know what I mean? People never hold to their convictions, man. So, this film just boiled it all down and showed us what it would be. And in a way that makes perfect sense. And that is fantastic. You know what I mean? Now, what is, like, watching the film today, because I remember watching it And I can't remember if I went to the cinema, if I watched it on video. Like, I don't remember how I watched this film. But because if it was on TV, I can imagine them cutting out, like, Jim, you know what I mean, just sprawled out naked on the bed, right? If it's on TV, they're cutting that. They're cutting that, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I remember not having an issue with it. But you watch it now, it looks like a 1970s, like, made-for-TV movie. Like, visually. Like, just the grain of it all. Like, when you look at films today, the picture is so crisp and sharp. This picture is not. Now, it does actually work, having it like that, because it kind of, it's funny, because it's not filmed that way, but it kind of feels like it's some time capsule, some found footage, right? Of, yo, this is what the world was like when it all went to shit, right? That's what it looks and feels like, which is kind of nutty, but it really does. So, although, you know what I mean, like, yes, we've got better grainage on films now and since, but this one, it manages to still work. I did find the score a bit odd, and the music in places was really low. Now, I bought this on Prime Video, so maybe it's the, something with that copy, and if you listen, you watch it in other places, it comes off better. But yeah, the sound was really, really fucking low in places that you're just like, was it worth putting something there? Because it doesn't really give the effect you're going for because it's so low, But yeah, 28 days later, still really enjoyed it. And yeah, very, very much surprised. Because, as I said, didn't remember the beginning. And there's other bits I just didn't recall that many people in the army base, right? I didn't recall the ending. You know what I mean? So, and how we got to that ending part. Because I remember there's a bit, the whole dress bit. Like, I remember all of that. But then what came after that, So, yeah, it was good because, you're surprised again. You're like, oh, damn, they're doing that? Ooh. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if you have not seen this film and you like The Walking Dead, right? You like... Now, it's to say you like a horror, but I don't think this is a horror as such. As I said, it's a film that deals with that human condition. Kind of boils it down to what would you do when the chip's against the wall, right? How would you act if you perceived the world to be ending? That's what this is. And it is very good. So yeah, if you enjoy that kind of movie, if you enjoy a zombie flick, if you like The Walking Dead, you will definitely enjoy 28 Days Later.